Yeah, so I've been doing a good amount of inner work and self-correcting when GOGI came to me, but I would say that before GOGI, I was like my own worst enemy. I created messes everywhere I went. I never finished what I started, and I guess I'm using generalizations, but I mean overall, I would say that was the trajectory in my life. Not starting what I finished, not fulfilling the promise that I displayed, and so by learning the GOGI tools and applying them, heck, even just one out of the 12, if you just learn one, like even just bossing my brain, you know. I remember in high school, I learned how to solve a math problem that would take up a whole wall, but I didn't learn that I was bossing my brain until I was in my 40s, you know. That bossing my brain taught me that I wasn't this organism that had to react to everything in the environment, which if you happen to be in a bad environment because of poor choices, means you're going to be reacting the wrong way to bad things all the time. So bossing my brain taught me that no matter what's happening around me, I have a choice on who I'm going to be and how I'm going to react, and not even react, but respond. Because I think there's a difference between reacting and responding. Now, and bossing my brain will create a space between an event that triggers you and how you're going to take a course of action after that. And you can say, well, you know what, I have the self-awareness to know I'm triggered now. I also have a choice to not stay triggered and move on with my life. And so that's just one example of how a GOGI tool can help you achieve cognitive restructuring and behavior modification. In other words, it'll just change how you think and change your behavior in relation to your external world. And ultimately, I would say in a nutshell, on a practical level, GOGI helps you to quit being your own worst enemy, helps you to become the best version of you, and it doesn't interfere with any other aspect of your life, whether it's spiritual or tradition or anything like that. And in addition to all that, GOGI invites you to a culture of people who are like-minded. That you know, when you quit the gang or when you quit the dope or whatever else is that's in your life, GOGI gives you a culture of people to turn to, positive people that are generally happy and going in the right direction, man. So that's an added benefit. You know, after a few years, you don't really have to think about them. They become automatic. First you learn the tool, coping skill, however you want to call it, and then you begin practicing it. You look for ways to practice it in situations in real life, and yeah, that translates whether you're in the can or back out here, you know. And then it's also, you know, your friends and relatives will be amazed, you know, at how much calm you have and how you always seem to know the right thing to do. And sometimes that might be just listening to them instead of offering a suggestion or a solution. But yeah, I don't always have to break out and use the names for the tools, but I demonstrate the use. And you know, when I'm sitting around in small group settings, I might say, yeah, okay, well, this tool, this is what it's called, and this is how I use it. And you might have been using it before, but now, you know, you have a better understanding of it, and you can pull it out of your toolbox and use it instead of just winging it. How do I use my tools to be of service to the community? And how does being of service to the community help me? I would say, I could go on for hours about that, but I'll try to give you the short answer. I would say that having got myself together and having made a lot of progress from who I was to who I've become, I would use the 12th tool, Ultimate Freedom, because now that you've got yourself together, it's time to get back, because you're okay. You don't worry about you. You got it together finally, and now it's time when something pops up in your life world, in your immediate sphere of influence, you can't fix every problem in the world, and you can't be the hero on every continent, and, you know, in every instance. But you sure as heck can, right here, right now. If someone ran out of gas and needs you to pick them up and get them gas, or if you know, someone needs you to cover a class for them, someone just needs to ride to the DMV, someone needs someone to talk to, whatever it is, it could be the smallest little thing. That's basically, in my opinion, what God's given you to do that day, and that's your way to give back. And when you do that for people, they remember that, and they tend to, when someone has a need, they tend to not ignore it because you remember when you helped them. So it creates a ripple effect. When you're of service and you do it not to get anything back, not even a thank you, which is the spirit of ultimate freedom, then other people see that and it changes them too. And they repeat that. And pretty soon you have people doing a lot more good than bad. Now, how that helps the community too, it reduces harm. It creates more empathy and more connection. And as someone who was a taker at some point and created chaos and trauma, I look for any chance I can now to be of service. Not just so I could sleep at night, but just to try to balance the ledger, and hopefully before I croak, you know, I'll get there, you know, to where I've done more good than bad. As someone who's caused some trauma, and when you decide that you want to own up to it and do everything you can to make up for it, you realize there's three kinds of amends. There's direct amends to the person you might have, if you kicked ass or if you took something from them or whatever it is, you try to make direct amends to them. If you can't, you can make indirect amends. If that person like dogs or something, you can volunteer at a dog shelter, or you know, you find a way to make direct amends. If you can't, make indirect amends, and then you can always make life amends. And ultimate freedom is good for that too, because by making life amends, you say, okay, when I was a problem in the community, I was a drug addict, and I was rowdy, and I was inconsiderate. You know, this is just examples that apply to me, but probably a lot of people. So, to help victims, by practicing these three kinds of amends in the spirit of ultimate freedom, you're reducing trauma, and you're making the world a safer place for them, and you're honoring them by being the best version of you and doing all you can to make society a safer, happier place. So even while you might not be able to do anything for your particular victim directly, by being of service and by practicing the tools in the community, you're making it a safer, happier place for them and for everybody else. And it's creating a ripple effect. And it's also honoring them, because that's part of the motivation for a lot of people to change from being a villain or a narcissistic hedonist like I was, to becoming a beautiful person worth knowing, who's an asset to the community and their families. So anytime that you're practicing GOGI tools and ultimate freedom, making amends in the community, you're honoring victims everywhere, because you're making the world, or at least your community, a safer, happier place. Part of the GOGI tools, there's components of it that involve you owning up to your wrongdoing and setting it aside for a minute, so you don't punish yourself continually, because you can't grow and change and become a better person when you're punishing yourself and burdening yourself with guilt and shame. So while you're growing and becoming the better version of you, you become aware of the impact of your wrongdoing, not being there for your kids, selling dope to someone who should have spent that money on taking care of his family. All these things, you become aware, like either in the class, in the group, or sitting alone, you start to think about everything you've said and done to everybody. That's part of the awareness that comes when you practice GOGI tools. And you realize, oh my God, you know, I was horrible, you know, in that situation. I could have been so much better. And so it teaches you to live an examined life, and it affects your interactions with people, so that you treat people a lot better than you did in the past. Victim impact and impact awareness. GOGI was a big part of me developing that awareness and cultivating a really deeper and more meaningful understanding of my impact in the past when I made really crappy decisions that not only affected me negatively but others. I learned through GOGI that decisions are everything, and GOGI is really all about making better decisions when it comes down to it. If nothing else, we all come together on that one theme to make better decisions, because we realize that while in the past we'd say, hey, what I'm doing doesn't affect no one, man, just let me be. The fact is, every decision we make affects every other human on the planet in some way, even though the ripple effect might be small. So by practicing the GOGI tools, internalizing them until they become the new automatic, the new you, you become someone who makes better decisions. Those better decisions affect everyone around you, friends, family, neighbors, and it ripples out in a ripple effect that, who knows how far that goes. All about making better decisions, and those better decisions make the community safer and make the people in it a little bit happier, man. It's that simple.